Hello, everyone. Welcome in. Today, we are excited to welcome John Brandt, a seasoned expert in cybersecurity and professional education. With over a decade at ISACA, John currently serves as the Director of Professional Practices and Innovation, where they lead the development of strategic content and training for our IT professionals in information security and risk management. Their extensive background includes senior roles in cybersecurity exam management and educational product development. Additionally, John is the VP of the Cybersecurity Credentials Collaborative, advocating for vendor neutral credentials in the field. A retired Master Chief from the U.S. Navy, John brings a wealth of experience in network defense and operations. So please go ahead and join me in welcoming John to share their insights. Take it away, John.
Thanks for that introduction. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're tuning in from. Like I said, I've got a decade of experience here at ISACA working with credentialing programs, our thought leadership, and developing actually the hands-on skills-based certification exam components. Prior to that, as was alluded to, I did serve in the Navy. I was a cryptologist and had experience within the IT space, did some early program work with 8570, which and then have kind of followed that in my current role here at ISACA. So there's been a lot of chatter there, right? Like this transition from 8570 to 8140 has been a long time coming. We're going to touch on that here throughout this briefing here. I'm going to kind of give you the where we currently are, as well as what products ISACA currently has that map to the roles that you currently fill or aim to fill. The overview here, if you have not actually looked at the documents, I encourage everybody to actually go out to the DoD 8140 website and actually read through there. It's a policy that establishes classification and qualification requirements for anyone working in a cybersecurity capacity within the DoD. It did replace 8570, but we are in this weird transition phase right now. By all accounts, when 8140 was rolled out, it basically superseded 8570. However, there was a 24-month period in which they've been ramping up with in people who provide programs such as ISACA and a bunch of our competitors, as well as within the training space, to meet these things. So the enforcement is slated to begin this upcoming February 2025. So that's kind of where everybody's been is focused on. There have been, it's not been perfect, to be honest with you, but there are a ton of programs, and this actually will ultimately serve stakeholders well in those that work for the government be able to transition into other roles in other departments and whatnot with this kind of standard way that they're identifying work roles by position, and you will know what you need in your current position, as well as kind of look ahead if you're looking at a career change and what you might need to actually get there. So back in February 2023, there was the manual, there was a strategy, there was an implementation plan. We're well into the implementation plan. It is required for anyone within the DoD that touches a critical system, and each role or position has to be mapped to a work role and up to 3 roles. And the reason for that is that some of these positions, and this is some of the disconnect, I think, between the public and the private sectors, work doesn't always translate one-to-one between the two areas. So some work roles that might actually be tangential, and supplemental, or maybe not full-time, or something that actually supplements capabilities that are core to that position. We talked about the initial timeline there. Of importance here is while it currently applies to cybersecurity, the clock is also started for the IT and intelligence folks. So this actually has a very large, it's going to have a large reaching effect to a lot larger audience, right? And then, so with an expected implementation of February 2026. Also, this does apply to contractors as well. So they in our work and in working alongside the DoD and receiving their partner briefings, they had made a lot of attempts, and contracting language has been getting updated over the years. Requirements in the FARs and whatnot as to what will need to get enforced for any work that might have been currently in the works. When we look at what a role is, right? The whole purpose of this comprehensive framework, it describes the work by a full spectrum of the cyber workforce. Per that manual, it's crucial in supporting workforce management. In some ways, the DoD is actually kind of pioneering what we're seeing across the globe with every country. The DoD's work was based on roles that were defined in the National Initiative for Cybersecurity Education, which were in still remain. They're actually more representative. There's a lot more uptake of these in the private sector because the NICE program office does a very good job in actually involving a multitude of stakeholders and taking in feedback. And their desire was always that the NICE framework would have have a larger applicability within the United States. Currently, I'd say that academia is probably aligned the most in that realm, but there are other countries that kind of took the initial work by NICE, as a subset of NIST as a starting point. But every country's out there looking to standardize and come up with skills frameworks and workforce frameworks to better supplement this growing demand that's out there. I do think that, again, one of the challenges here when we talk about anything IT related right now, and we'll talk simply within cyber, is there's a lot of disparity between what portions of work are called in different areas. And even if you look at the NICE framework or the DoD one, you've got multiple different types of analysts. You see this out across the globe. If you are active duty or you're a contractor and you've looked at the job boards and whatnot, you're going to see a lot of this different work called a lot of different things, which is part of the problem right now. Because not only that, then you've got this huge disparity between what people believe you need to do the work. We did talk about it applies to everybody within the DoD. Currently you see on screen here, this has got large reach and there's a large impact here. I will say that one of the things between the DoD cybersecurity workforce framework and the NICE one is that the DoD one is a lot more agile. They do have vehicles in place to actually make adjustments a lot quicker than what we had seen with the NICE. And there's pros and cons to that. Just know that I do believe in the grand scheme of things, the DoD is really leaning forward, trying to be as responsive to their missions and make sure that they're getting the right people and the right work at the right time. So within there, there's a lot of standardization, right? There's this framework that's part of it. Requirements are influenced by type, audience, component. When we talk about foundational qualifications, and that's where the starting point of enforcement is going to be, that can be met by either education, training, or certification. And we're going to see that here in a couple slides by work rule, how they kind of specify that. For the most part, the military service schools were a big component of this, and having been a former military trainer, they've always done a pretty good job in how they actually develop their programs, get them accredited, how they do their assessments. The 8140 work did actually allow that to be leveraged in some part, but that's also just the minimum level, right? When you get into what it is, the type of work that people need to do to be proficient in a role, that's really where we see the benefit of certifications come into play here. Again, each role there's different proficiency levels in here, a basic, intermediate, and advanced. A lot of this guidance that's coming out, like we're basically a parties such as ISACA, we're providing products to the DoD that meet the objectives that they're trying to fulfill. For our work, our certifications, like we have a responsibility to map them, and based on the vehicle that they're having us use, which is this AI large language model, based on how the program's developed, the target audience, all the knowledge, skills, and tasks that are associated with it, as well as kind of if there's any experience requirements, to which ISACA course certification does have an experience requirement. So that puts us up on the higher end of the chart, and you'll see that when I show you how we map to certain roles. When it comes to certifications are not all the same. And I think this is the guidance that I really want to highlight for the audience here is the certifications here in the requirement for a certification to be approved. It has to have received ANAB accreditation, which is under this international standard 17024. As part of that, our programs need to meet 70% of the coverage for KSATs. So when you're looking out here, regardless of whether it's a soccer or maybe a different program provider, you might see some roles where you're like, I wonder why that particular certification isn't mapped over. And I'll call your attention to that 70% coverage, because there lies one of the challenges. The DoD in this case, they have to pick a target. 70% is a common target, but the reality is in order for us, when we build our programs, and they are global programs, vetted, validated, designed by global audience, they do not always map to one into the government. So that's where sometimes you might be like, well, I'm convinced this certification should map. This might explain why that isn't happening. And again, accreditation's an independent assessment and attestation that processes are fair, valid, and reliable. That's the key thing. And I talked about certifications aren't all the same. If it's not accredited, buyer beware, right? At the end of the day, here's the problem. There's tons of training programs out there who will say, hey, I have a certification. And if they offer an exam and it's not proctored, or if it is proctored and they haven't gone through this thing about fairness, validity, and reliability, and doing the things to basically uphold the spirit and the integrity of their exam, chances are it's never going to be accredited, not by the DoD or even other bodies. So you got to be really aware of that. To work in this sector, there's a lot of cost and a lot of preparation that goes into this. As a practitioner, I feel the pain of, I maintain a bunch of certifications myself. There's a financial and administrative burden to doing that. I think those are largely their moment in time, but they're also, every individual kind of gets to that point where they realize, hey, this is where my career is going, and this is where I need to focus, or where you might make some adjustments as to what you want to maintain or not moving forward. We talked about authoritative source here. So I'm going to point everybody, this is the official party line from the DoD CIO office. This website here, the DoD Cyber Exchange, this is the authoritative source. Even though partners such as ISACA, we actually work through this DoD 8140 marketplace, which is the front end of their large language model. On this website, you're going to see all the policy documents, the strategy, the stuff that I referenced. You're also going to see in some subsequent screenshots where I show you the files that you would want to reference, and it'll show you the latest dates. Is it a little cumbersome? Yeah, the user experiences, this is not necessarily good because it's incumbent upon consumers to actually go look at this stuff and to keep pace at what it is instead of it basically a push feature out to anybody that's interested. So on screen here, when we talk about financial qualifications, right, this is just kind of a summary snapshot here of the the decision tree, if you will, with regarding, hey, this is the role that you're looking at, and the different options here: education, training, certification. Today, we're focused on personnel certifications. It's at the bottom here. It's the most common measuring stick within IT, long standing, right? So for the most part, that's where you're at if you're deeper into your career. So if you're coming in as a new service member, or you're a government civilian, or you're a contractor and you're going to fill this position, this is what they currently have portrayed as what your timelines are going to be. So, and then you see this decision tree in here. There is a lot of reporting, typical government fashion. Um, there's been a lot of effort went into this. And like I said, this took a long time for this program to come about. 8140 was originally, if you go way back, those of us that were involved, they originally had believed it was going to be nothing but hands on. And that ultimately kind of changed, and probably rightfully so, because not all work roles lend themselves to a hands on certification exam. And truly, the market doesn't want that. They want a hybrid. That's what we've seen, even with our work, where I did develop a full blown, hands on, entirely competency based exam. The challenge is you can't test the sheer scope of what you need to, because those tasks take longer. So ultimately, you're seeing the market kind of move into this hybrid approach of testing both knowledge as well as some skills capabilities. When you go to this website here, I really just kind of call this out, this sample template for the qualification matrix. This is kind of was the basis how they envision, and then they move into these spreadsheets that I'm going to show here in a second. When you go to the quals matrices, call attention to the bottom of the screen there. There's the cyber enablers, cybersecurity. That's currently the enforced. That's the bulk of what everybody's looking at. And then the IT one, which I talked about, which is you're going to see that continue to evolve here in the coming months, I would suspect. Of interest, though, when I dug into this and preparing for this presentation, there's a little bit of disparity between what the government has said, which programs ISACA is totally approved for, and what we're seeing here in these authoritative documents. We did receive communication just in the prior days that said, hey, there's a reason for that, it's a valid reason. We're working through this right now. So again, this is the importance of coming back to this website, looking at the document, and making sure that for your particular role, you understand what potentials, what programs you would need to have or already have and maintain to remain qualified in your position. Moving forward, so, and again, the prior sheet there, when you open up the spreadsheet on the main tab here, this is kind of what you're going to see here. And then on the right here is just, I think that's tab B, where it lists those. You'll see our programs, and you would actually have to tab through each individual work role to see the different options. Save you the hassle of having to do that in the immediate. This is what they currently say for our ISACA programs just on the cybersecurity rules. Again, this is not the enablers. This is not the project managers. This is not the legal teams, or any of the things that are supplemental. These are what they're considered core cybersecurity roles. So currently there's 6 roles you see up there on screen. CISA or CISM certifications do map at the advanced proficiency level. So at the end of the day, in my belief, and again, I think that there's, I'm not sure how the DoD is going to enforce this yet. Is if you had a CISA and you were in any one of these work roles, or you were in a intermediary one, it's logical that the advanced one would carry down. But the way that the implementation has been, there I would continue to monitor that. And actually, when in doubt, you have questions. What we've heard from them time again, submit your inquiries to the DoD CIO office through appropriate channels, and let them give you the authoritative answer. So that's what I'm communicating to you all. I've referenced this AI large language model that they've been working on, and so this is an output of that. And I just wanted to show the viewers here. On the prior screen, you saw that there was only 6 roles that we applied to, and actually one of them is a little different, right? If you were paying attention, authorized official was not on this list, but it is on the official list, and that actually was one of the ones that I'm glad to see, because it was kind of a challenge thing to go back. And the way that this is kind of working is, providers put in their programs, it spits out a preliminary mapping, and then they've actually since rolled out a new version, which it looks like they're doing that mainly on the backside. So I do think that they're moving in the right direction. So the 2 programs that ISACA currently has certified right now and approved is our Certified Information Systems Auditor certification, or CISA, right? This is how ISACA got its roots. We've been in existence more than 50 years because of the need for information systems auditing. And this role is actually only growing in criticality with the explosion of AI. So this is a solid role, and you see where it currently maps, although there are more roles in the cyber enabling spreadsheet. When I did look at that, just know that they don't actually have it specified which roles right now. So I think that there's a lot of cleanup work that the DoD is trying to do to get the details from that large language model into the authoritative source, to have that as the trusted record, if you will. And then we've got our Certified Information Systems Manager, the CISM certification. It is the preferred worldwide cert for security managers, and heavily risk-based, right? At the end of the day, this is why this thing is been, both CISA and CISM are typically top handful of highest salaried certifications that are out there. Again, wide ranging applicability across the globe, and it is focused on strategic enterprise IT security management. Again, when you look at how the security, especially security managers, but both the auditors and managers, both of these roles and these associated certifications are growing in importance, especially in the private sector, because of this, where technology has become a business enabler, and really all aspects of business have been touched by technology. And so the need to collaborate and work with hiring managers and business leaders to protect their data, protect their core processes, is just increasingly important. And with that, that's the end of my presentation.
Awesome. Thank you so much, John, for all this fantastic info. If anyone needs any more information on this topic, please do not be afraid to visit us at newhorizons.com or isaca.org. And if you missed out on any part of this session, we will be sharing a recording with all of you in an email after the webinar. Thanks again, John.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, everyone. We'll talk to you very soon. Bye-bye for now.